morning, students. How are you? Hope you all are fine. Okay, let us start. Yesterday we talked about the first part of this intelligence and ability, and that was basically related to its definition aspect and some measurement part. Now we discussed about the Binet test of intelligence, who had been the pioneer. Today I will try to discuss about some other popular and prominent test of intelligence. Among that test, there had been two major types of test constructed. One is known as the culture bias test of intelligence. Another one is known as the culture fair test of intelligence or culture free test of intelligence. Now, what do you mean by this term culture bias? You know, there are certain tests which shows bias towards a particular culture because the test is developed in a particular culture. So because of that reason, the test becomes biased. Biased means the test is not fair enough to measure the intelligence fairly. For example, there are different cultures, European culture, Asian countries culture, American culture, African countries culture. So if a test is developed in a particular culture with the particular aims to measure the intelligence level of that particular group of people, the chances are greater than that this test will have cultural bias. So if that test is administered to some other culture, say if the test is developed or if it is meant for the American culture and it is being administered to measure the intelligence level of the African children or the Asian children, the chances are there that there will be a cultural bias. The test will not fairly, adequately measure the intelligence level of that cultural group children. So this type of test is called cultural bias test. If we measure with the help of these cultural bias test the intelligence level of the other cultural group children or the people, either it will be overloaded or overrated or it will be underrated. So just to avoid this aspect of bias, we use culture fair test of intelligence. Now, what is culture fair test of intelligence? Just to avoid and eliminate the biases related to a particular culture, some other psychologists have developed that certain test which they claim as culturally fair test of intelligence or culturally free test of intelligence. Means a particular culture will not have any negative impact over the others group of people. So if a test is developed for keeping in view the uh, all cultural perspective, it will have no cultural bound. It will be uh, it will be known as culture fair test of intelligence. This type of test is developed by Cattell. Cattell has developed a test which name is culture intelligence fair test. This test can be used in any culture at any place for any group of children irrespective of the culture concerned. This why this kind of problems raised? I tell you, the main reason was related to the verbal test of intelligence. Most of the verbal test of intelligence which were developed after the Binet's test of intelligence, it since it were the verbal content based intelligence test, so they had the chances of cultural biasness. So other tests which are mostly are popularly known as performance test of intelligence are culture fair test of intelligence. So even the Cattell's test is also the non-verbal test of intelligence. Some other tests have also been developed which are considered to be the culture fair test of intelligence. So this is the major difference between culture bias and culture fair test of intelligence. In brief, I conclude that if a test is based on or constructed or standardized for a particular cultural group, that will be known as culture bias test. If the test is constructed and standardized for across the countries, then it will be known as culture fair test of intelligence. Now come to the Wechsler adult intelligence scale. We know that the first test of intelligence was developed by Binet in 1905. Binet test was a verbal test of intelligence, and later on it was felt by this number of psychologists that if anyone want to measure the intelligence level or IQ level of a child who is not literate, who does not know the language, any language, then how we can be able to measure the IQ level? So in just to check it and to measure those children who are illiterate or to those people who are not literate one, the another very famous test was developed by Wechsler. Wechsler was a psychiatrist and he worked at that time he was working at Newark Mental Hospital. Wechsler developed two types of tests. Initially he developed a test for the measurement of the intelligence level of the children of up to the 5 years of age. But later on, Wechsler realized that the majority of the people are of the adolescence stage level or the adult group level. So in 1949, Wechsler developed the test for the children, and in 1955 he developed the another test, intelligence test for the adults and adolescents. Age range was 16 to 64 years. This test consists of both verbal and non-verbal types of items. In his verbal part of the test, it consists 6 types of test. Say information related items were there, general comprehension, arithmetical reasoning, similarities, vocabularies, and digit span. So these were the 6 types of items, questions which were kept in the verbal part of the test. Similarly, in the non-verbal test, he kept the items particularly related to the picture arrangement, picture construction, block design, and digit symbols. So These non-verbal questions were also kept in the questionnaire in the scale to measure the intelligence level of the illiterate group or the people. Since Wechsler was working as a psychiatrist, so he used the scores of the test for the diagnosis of the mental disorders or the children or the people who had been suffering any kind of behavioral disorder or the mental disorder. So it was his purpose. For example, Wechsler told that on the basis of the scores, one can be very easily recognize about the children's level of intelligence and can be able to assume about the behavioral or mental disorders. For example, he said, if a child is efficient in picture arrangement and in the picture construction test, but if he is not efficient or score very low marks in arithmetical test or similarities or in the vocabulary test, one can assume that the child's IQ level is very low. So these kinds of things can be very easily sorted out with the help of the Wechsler test of intelligence. The scoring procedure of this Wechsler test of intelligence is very specific, and with the help of that scoring procedure, the scores are gathered, calculated, and then final result is given to the candidates concerned. Then come to the Raven's progressive matrices test of intelligence. Now, Ravens developed his test of intelligence in 1938. This test is a non-verbal test of intelligence. It is a culture fair test of intelligence and a group test of intelligence. This matrices are also meant for the it is also used across the countries, and this test is developed and constructed for the measurement of the intelligence level of the children as well as the adolescents and the adult people. This is a power test of intelligence and not the speeded test. There is no time limit for the candidates to solve the problems. I must clear what is the basic difference between the power test of intelligence and the speed test of intelligence. Power test of intelligence are those in which questions are gradually kept in a way that gradually difficulty level is increasing order. So if enough time is given to the students, they cannot be able to even attempt and solve all the questions. So they can attempt the questions but cannot be able to solve all the questions correctly. In the speed test, the difficulty level of the questions are very easy. Even almost all the children can solve the questions, but time constant has a very great value. There is a time limit. So in spite of one's best effort, one could not be able to attempt all the questions. So this is the basic difference between power test of intelligence and speed test. So it was a power test, so there was no time limit for the candidates. For the children, they can have a plenty of time to attempt the questions. This test has 60 pictures for the adults, and there are 5 set of questions, 12 in each. So this is how the questions have been kept. Last 2 set of questions are very difficult and it is very difficult for the students. They cannot be able to solve it very easily in spite of their attempt. So now let us come to the uh, so these are the prominent test which we discussed. Let us come to the theories of intelligence. To define intelligence in a very smooth way and correctly, majority of the psychologists have developed their own theories of intelligence, and that could be very helpful in defining intelligence itself also. We will take up some of the prominent theories which had been very popular and still that are being recognized by the number of psychologists. Before discussing the theories one by one, I would like to categorize theories of intelligence in a very simple way. Now, almost all the theories of intelligence have been categorized in two major groups. One class of theories are known as the factor theories of intelligence, while the other group of theories are known as the process-oriented theories of intelligence. Among the factor-based intelligence theories, the prominent names are Spearman, Thurston, Guilford, Gardner, and some others also there. And among the process-oriented theories, basically the most prominent names are Piagetian theory, Sternberg's theory, triarchic theory, it is a very famous theory of intelligence, Brunner's theory, and some others. So factor theories are basically based on a specific statistical technique which is known as the factor analysis technique. So these theories are based on factor analysis technique, and they have tried to make the cluster of factors to define the intelligence. But that is a little bit technical matter, so I am not going to talk about what is factor analysis, and that is needless to say. I just mention here to make the difference between these two groups of theorists. So among the factor theories, the popular name is the two-factor theory of intelligence, proposed or developed by a British psychologist whose name was Spearman. It is also known as Spearman's two-factor theory of intelligence. This theory of intelligence was developed in 1904. Spearman said that for any kind of mental activity in which individuals engaged required a factor which is known as G factor. G stands for the general factor. It is just like we can write it G factor. And another factor which is also required for the specific kind of mental activities are known as S factor. G stands for the general factor, S stands for the specific factor. So any kind of mental activities which is being performed by an individual, it involves G factor. General factor is always there. But for performing and doing some specific task, we require S factor. For example, if a child is learning something or doing something, G factor is involved. But if the same child is try to learn about the some instrument, he is trying to play some instrument, guitar, piano, or anything, tabla, anything. So in that situation, for the performing that activities, the child needs the S factor, specific factor. So with the help of these two G and S factor, Spearman defines intelligence. Now this G factor, according to Spearman, this G factor has certain characteristics. The most important characteristics of the G factor is it is innate factor. It is inherited. It cannot be acquired. Second important characteristics of G factor is that training, learning or any past experience have not any effect over the G factor because it is innate, it is not acquired. So since it is not acquired, so any kind of training, so G factor cannot be increased, the amount of G factor cannot be increased with any sort of training or any sort of learning or for any sort of experiences. And third characteristics of G factor is it is fixed. The amount of G factor, whatever is available in an individual is fixed, it also cannot be increased. Now let us come to the S factor. As I told you, S factor is a specific factor, and for any kind of specific activities, whether it is related to music, whether it is related to any games, cricket, football, volleyball, handball, chess, whatever it is, or any kind of playing musical instruments, we or any kind of artistic activities, we need the S factor, specific factor. So G factor is always there for any kind of mental activities involved. It must be clear to you that G factor is always there, but if a child is very good in playing piano or playing say guitar, it means he is having some greater amount of S factor and that contributes him. Similarly, it happens in the case of players, cricket players, football players or any kind of activities in which one is involved. So G factor, that is why it is said that G factor is innate. It cannot be increased with the help of training or any kind of learning. But S, similar to the G factor, S factor has also certain characteristics. S factor is, it can, the first characteristics of S factor is, it is changeable. The amount of S factor, specific factor, can be changed. And how it can be changed? Second characteristic is it has the impact of training, learning and past experiences. So through training, through learning, the S factor can be increased up to the highest level. And third, it is not fixed. Individual to individual, it varies. The amount of S factor, suppose if you take the examples of a cricket player, Virat Kohli, Tendulkar, Sehwag, or there are some other Ravindra Jadeja, or there are several bowlers also, Umesh Yadav. So all these are the players and they varies to each other because of their S factor. G factor is there, but and since G factor is fixed, so all individuals are having the different amount of G factor, similarly at the different amount of S factor. So on the basis of these two factors, Spearman tried to define intelligence. Clear? Now come to the second one, Thurston's multi-factor theory of intelligence. This theory is also known as Thurston's group factor theory of intelligence or group factor theory of intelligence. Thurston said that it is not possible to define intelligence on the basis of only G factor and the S factor, but in each and every individual there are the group of factors which works independently. So intelligence is composed of several independent factors, several independent specific factors which works independently to each other, and that contributes in the our any kind of behavioral or mental activities. So that is why he proposed certain primary mental abilities. He termed them it as a primary mental abilities. So Thurston's theory is called as a group factor theory of intelligence or multi-factor theory of intelligence because he talked about several other independent factors who works and contribute in our intellectual activities. So Thurston initially talked about the 7 primary factors of intelligence which works independently. These 7 factors are: first, verbal ability, or it is called verbal meaning. Second, it is a spatial ability, verbal ability, spatial ability, reasoning, perceptual ability, memory, word fluency. So, and numerical ability. 7 primary factors are there. So, I again repeat it: verbal ability or verbal meaning ability, numerical ability, spatial ability, perceptual ability, reasoning ability, memory ability, and word fluency. So, let us take it as verbal ability, numerical ability, spatial ability, perceptual ability, reasoning ability, memory ability, and word fluency ability. Now, these are the 7 primary factors proposed by Thurston. Verbal ability refers to the ability of word meaning, understanding of the word meaning, sentences, words. Numerical ability is particularly related to the efficiency in mathematical activities and numerical calculations. Spatial ability, it refers to the visualizing the space. So the persons who are having this ability, who are higher at this spatial ability, are the good chess player, they are very efficient in map reading and geometrical figure and activities. As well as, these architects are also very efficient in spatial ability. Perceptual ability is speedily one can easily perceive the objects or the things. Reasoning, it is related to that part of ability through which one can be able to follow the rules, principles, symbols, and become able to make abstract level of thinking. Memory, the persons, the individuals who are able in this memory level are very efficient in memorizing the materials as well as can be able to recall it efficiently. And word fluency ability, they are very able in making the differences among the words and their differences fluently. So these are the 7 basic primary mental abilities about which he talked about. Now come to the third theory, that is Guilford's structure of intellect theory. It is also called three-dimensional theory of structure of intellect. Now, what is structure of intellect? The process, Guilford said that the process of classifying the intellectual abilities into a systematic framework is called structure of intellect. What it is? It is the process of classifying the all intellectual abilities into a systematic framework is called structure of intellect. Now, Guilford said that all elements of intelligence can be chiefly categorized in 3 dimensions. What are these 3 dimensions? These 3 dimensions are, first is the operations, second is the content, and third is the product. Guilford's theory is a little bit technical, very technical theory. He described intelligence in a very, on the basis of the factor analysis, in a very detailed way. Now, these 3 elements are through operation. Now, the term this operation refers to the nature of mental activities performed by an individual. What it is? It is the nature of mental activity performed by an individual is known as operations. And Guilford has talked about 5 types of operations of different types: cognitions, convergent production, divergent productions, including several 5 factors about these operations. Content. Content is, it involves the type of information involved in performing the intellectual ability. What kind of information is involved in performing the intellectual activity or the mental activities is known as content. It is of 4 types. This one is of 5 types. It is of several types like figural, symbolic, including other factors also. And product is, it is dependent upon the kind of content involved in performing the intellectual activity. So what is the product? This is known as the product. The kind of different forms. It is based on the kind or the type of content, and it occurs in different forms, which is known as product. It is of 6 types. So Guilford says that the intellectual activities which occurred are the performance an individual do or perform at any kind of mental activities or the intellectual activities. It is a combination. It is not a single unit. It is a combination through which the individual performs the intellectual activities. Now, it can be broken into 5 into 4 into 6 is equal to 120 units. So, the combination becomes, when we multiply it, it becomes 120. So, it can be broken into 120 types. That is why it is a little bit very typical theory of intelligence, and through this way we do our intellectual activities, and it becomes a very complex one because it occurs in a combined form. So 120 types of combinations can occur, can be broken out. So this is about this Guilford's theory of intelligence. Now come to the Cattell's theory of fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Cattell has made a lot of contribution in the field of intelligence. He has developed a culture fair test of intelligence, which is very popular, and that test can be applied across the countries. Now, Cattell's theory of fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence is, by fluid intelligence, Cattell said that intellectual abilities have 2 basic components. There are only 2 clusters of intellectual components. These are the fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Fluid intelligence means it is strongly dominated by our innate or inherited capabilities. It is innate, it is strongly influenced by the innate capabilities, and it can be measured with the help of analogy and classification type of problems. Cattell said that since it is strongly influenced by the inherited characteristics, it is innate, it can only be able to measure through the analogy, classification and other sort of test. In analogy is based on the similar type of problem, classification problem is based on the groupings. You might have heard the problems like odd man out, in which you have to, the candidate has to require to make a group of one set of items and to find out which one is odd man. So these kinds of problems, through these one we can measure the fluid intelligence. And crystallized intelligence is that one which is strongly influenced by the environment. Environmental factor has the major role. So whatever the knowledge we gain through the environment, whatever the knowledge a child gains through the schooling, through the other activities and through the participation of different kinds of activities, is influenced by the crystallized intelligence. So this is how Cattell talked about the fluid and crystallized intelligence. Thank you. Tomorrow we will take some another topic.